Once again, a huge shout out to my Discord buddy Speed, who came up with this challenge. Apparently he's pretty good at that. I'd also like to shout out Phantom, who made the artwork for today's thumbnail. You're both champions. Healing in Fallout New Vegas can take many shapes, from a stim pack to some dirty water. But what if the only way you could heal was by eating the forbidden meat? Can you beat Fallout New Vegas as a cannibal? Let's go over the rules of the challenge. Rule number 1. The only way to heal is by eating corpses, or if the game forcibly heals you like after you leave Caesar's camp. Rule number 2. I decided that this would be a melee only run, so only melee weapons. Rule number 3. I allowed the use of drugs, but not buff out as it increases your max health temporarily, which could in a way be used as a quick alternative to healing. It's also set to very hard. You ready? Let's go. Right off the bat I was making mistakes, as I had to go back and re-record the first few minutes of the challenge, because I can't press the record button. I wake up in Doc Mitchell's place, and what he doesn't know is that I plan to eat him later. I name myself Rupert Lecter as a mixture of two names the Twitch chat gave me, and then I make myself look incredibly handsome. Reminder, the character you see right now might not look exactly the same as the one later in the video, as I had to try and remember how I created this monstrosity for the re-recording. I went to the Vigor Tester and maxed out Strength and Endurance for the best melee damage and health stats. Once again, I breeze through Doc Mitchell's questions and pick melee weapons, repair, and survival as my tag skills. I also take the Wild Wasteland perk for fun. Now that I'm actually in control of the game, my first stop was to Chet's place to buy a melee weapon because I thought the broad machete would be a little too powerful this early on. So I buy a shovel, that way when I'm done eating my foes, I can bury them properly. So before we can actually make any real progress in this challenge, I have to reach level 4 so I can acquire the Cannibal perk, and that's not easy considering I can't heal until I get it. I decided that the easiest way to get experience would be to side with the Powder Gangers in the battle for Goodsprings, and it would come in handy to be accepted by the Powder Gangers later. I talked to Joe Cobb, and he says that I need to kill Ringo, and then we can take over the town, so that's what I did. Goodbye, Ringo. Now that I killed Ringo, I was given the choice to extort supplies from Doc, Mitch, and Chet. But since I knew my skills for the checks were too low, I ignored it and we started the fight. Not too bad so far. The Powder Gangers did most of the work for me, and we took over the town rather easily. I figured I'd level up from this, but I didn't, so now it's time to try and find some easier quests to do that can give me decent experience since I was already at half health. Prim would be the first stop, and since I was on good terms with the Powder Gangers, the only things I killed on the way there were geckos. But at least that leveled me up. I put my points into melee weapons and chose the confirmed bachelor perk because no man can resist Rupert Lecter's incredible looks. At Prim, I spoke to Johnson Nash and inquired about my package, and am tasked with a very important decision. I knew that I could get decent experience for finding a new sheriff, but that would mean I have to go into the Bison Steve and free Deputy Beagle, or kill him, and with half health, I didn't think that would happen. So I decided that I would skip it for now and come back later. Now I was on my way to Nipton just to kill Oliver Swinnick, and kill him I did. I chopped up his body for later, but never came back to eat him, sadly. It was at this point that my Twitch chat convinced me to go back to the Bison Steve and test my luck trying to rescue Deputy Beagle. So it's back to Prim. The convicts inside of the Bison Steve were actually much easier than I anticipated, and they went down without too much fighting. I still doubted that I'd be able to kill all of the convicts inside, so I came up with a great plan. I'd run in and kill Beagle and then run out and hopefully not die. And to my surprise, it actually worked pretty well. The only problem now was that I was on death's door, and I still had to find a new sheriff. I decided that I would try to get the NCR to take over because I thought that it would be easier, but as it turns out, I was wrong. The way to the Mojave outpost was guarded by some Viper gang members, and needless to say, they could practically one-shot me at this point. So I had to swerve majorly to avoid death, but they were the only people that tried to attack me on the way to the outpost. At the outpost, I tried to sweet-talk Knight because I thought that maybe he'd send some troops over to Prim without the speech check, but it was wasted time. Since I didn't have the knowledge or supplies to make Prim Slim the sheriff, it was time to go to the NCR correctional facility and attempt to make Myers the sheriff. I didn't run into anything on the way to the facility, and when I arrived, Myers was more than willing to be sheriff if I could get him a pardon. So now it's back to the outpost to pay 200 caps for his pardon, and back to Myers to complete the quest. That leveled me up, but I still needed one more level for the Cannibal perk, so it was time for some really easy experience. I head back to Nipton and talk to Vulpus so I can inform the NCR that the Legion is on its way. Back at the outpost, I talk to Ghost and inform her that I already know that Nipton was destroyed by the Legion, and then I make my way to Sergeant Kilborn and tell him too. They both give me hefty amounts of experience, and now I'm very close to level 4. I went back to Goodsprings and attempted to kill the Bighorners for experience, but the settlers were not having that. So I started walking toward John's skydiving and was attacked by a coyote, and when I reached John's, I leveled up from finding it. Now I can finally get the Cannibal perk and get my health back. The first place I hit is Goodsprings. The corpses are still there, so I eat my fill. Now, I'll let everyone know that before I went into this challenge, the last time I used the Cannibal perk had been years ago. So I didn't remember how much eating somebody would heal me. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Eating the meat of my fellow man did not restore nearly as much HP as I thought it would. but I guess that's something I'm just gonna have to live with. I ate Easy Pete last. Now, it was time to head to Novak. I made sure that I knocked the powder gangers off the crosses so I could eat them, and I started up the hill towards Novak. I killed some bighorners higher up on the hill, and let me tell you, they aren't that easy to kill with a melee weapon, but I managed. The Viper gunslingers fell pretty easily to my shovel of doom, and I continued on my way. I was attacked out of nowhere by a group of Night Stalkers, and to say the least, it was actually a pretty cool moment of the challenge.
Whoa, no. What the fuck? God no, no. Okay, I'm very okay with that.
After I nearly peed myself, I let the caravan clean up the rest of the Legion members in the area and got settled in for a midnight snack. Back on the road to Novak, some Legion members killed the Vipers that were in the way, and I ate some more. At Novak, I went straight to Boone to do his quest for some easy experience, and since my lockpick skill was horrible, I had to steal Jenny Mae's key to get the paperwork I needed to prove she was a monster. Bye-bye, you evil demon. Now it's time to head to the 188 trading post so I have an easy landmark to travel to Boulder City. I nearly got killed by some Vipers, but I ate them in the end. Closer to the 188, I initiated combat with what I thought was a normal ant, but remembered that these ones breathed fire, and almost died. I didn't do anything at the 188 trading post, I just discovered it if I needed to fast travel there later, and I made my way to Boulder City. At Boulder City, I was tasked with trying to make the Great Khans release their prisoners, and succeeded when I killed Jessup and ate his face. Nom. Now it's time for a surprise. After you eat 20 corpses, you get a perk called Dine and Dash, where you can take some of the corpse to eat later, and I very much utilized this perk, as it allowed me to heal in battle, although it wasn't very good. Back outside, the Great Khans weren't too happy I killed Jessup, so I ran and hid behind a wall while the NCR did their thing. Then I went back and ate them. Now it's time to go to New Vegas, and when I started this challenge, I already decided that I was going to side with Yes Man, as that would be the easiest way to get the Meat of Champions perk, which requires me to eat Mr. House, the King, President Kimball, and Caesar. For me, that was the main goal of the challenge aside from beating the story. On the way to Vegas, I tried to kill the Bighorner as usual, but I got absolutely mauled and decided that maybe it would be in my best interests to not do that. I stopped by the crashed caravan and looted the combat armor for my personal use and made my way to the gunrunners to buy a better melee weapon. I settled with the chainsaw as I thought that would be a great weapon for a cannibal to use. I tested it out on Isaac and it worked just as well as I thought it would, but the guards did not appreciate that. Time to go to the strip. Now is the portion of the game where it turns into an absolute genocide route for the most part. I made my way to the tops and refused to give the chairman my weapons and started chopping everyone up. There were a few trouble spots here and there, but it didn't take long for me to turn the whole casino into mulch. Too bad I never picked the bloody mess perk for this challenge. Now all I have to do is eat them and take some of the meat home for me for later. The only one left was Benny, and he didn't stand a chance against my chainsaw. Matthew Perry. For now, I leave Yes Man to his own devices, as I wanted to get some experience from Mr. House. I went to the Lucky 38 and gave House the Platinum Chip. I had to sit through a stupid demonstration, but at least I got 600 experience from it. Now it's time to kill Mr. House, but I don't think I'm going to be able to sneak past these robots without a stealth boy. So I stop at Victor's Shack in Good Springs since there's usually one inside of the ammo box, and I lucked out. Back to the Lucky 38. In all honesty, I probably didn't need the stealth boy since they could detect me through it anyway, but oh well. It took a few tries to get past the Securitrons without getting murdered, but I eventually made it. I killed Mr. House and ate his probably nasty-tasting corpse. I told Yes Man it was time to meet at the Lucky 38, and now all I had to do was meet up with the other tribes in the New Vegas area. But first, I decided to upgrade my chainsaw. There were two upgrades I wanted for the chainsaw carbide teeth and the chainsaw heavy-duty blade. They could both be picked up from either the Gunrunner's kiosk or Cliff Briscoe in Novak. I lucked out when I found the blade at the Gunrunner's first try, but the teeth were so much harder to get. I had to wait, and wait, and wait for days, constantly checking Cliff's inventory and the Gunrunner's inventory. It took an awful long time, but I finally got to spawn at the Gunrunners, and I was now equipped to do battle with the tribes of the Mojave. The Omertas were first on the list, and let me tell you, this was not an easy task. They had decent weapons equipped, and most of the time, I was no match for them. I ended up having to hide around the wall and wait for them to come to me to stand a chance. That's worked very well here. I eventually cleared the main room except for the cashier and started to consume this great feast I had created. There were a few more Omertas in the bar area, but not enough to cause any problems. I leveled up to 10 here, and since I already maxed out my melee weapons, I was working on my survival skills since that made the human remains I collected from bodies heal me a little more. I chose the Here and Now perk and maxed out survival and started on barter for some reason. Now that the Omertas are all but taken care of, it's time to deal with the white gloves. These guys and gals were a little easier to kill since they only used melee weapons, but that was also a problem in itself. They blocked pretty often, I don't know how you block a chainsaw, but they did, and that just made it take way longer to kill them. Another feast fit for a king. I'm surprised my character was still hungry at this point. I killed Mortimer's cannibal ass because if there's going to be any cannibals here, it'll be me. I proceeded to the dining area and killed everyone there too. I was starting to collect a solid chunk of human remains at this point. In the kitchen, there were white gloves with flamers here, but their lack of armor made them easy to kill. Now who's eating who for dinner? With the white gloves dealt with, it was time to deal with the boomers. And by deal with the boomers, I mean eat their leader, cause I'm crazy. The boomers were a lot harder to deal with than the Omertas, or the white gloves. I tried to kill as many as I could in all of the different locations of the base, but it might as well have been a fruitless effort because even though I could kill some of them, I lost a lot of health and had to eat and devour them on the spot instead of grabbing some to go. I eventually left pretty empty-handed because of that. Time to see what the Brotherhood is up to. Once I arrived at Hidden Valley, I tested my luck by attacking the Brotherhood Knights who came to escort me to the Elder, and that was a very short-lived attempt. I could do some quests for them and then steal the keycards to blow the place up, but I might as well do the full quest line so I can get some experience and the ability to wear power armor, which would be incredibly important, though insignificant in the end of it all. I know that didn't make much sense right now, but you'll see. Once I'm in the bunker for real, they put the explosive collar on me and send me out to remove an NCR ranger from the area. Easy enough. Now back to the bunker. The Elder tasks me with finding his missing patrols, and I'm off to find them once again. Since I covered this pretty thoroughly on the last New Vegas video I did, I'm going to cut some corners here. The first patrol I found was dead in a hole next to Black Mountain. Their corpses were surrounded by centaurs who were no match for my chainsaw. I collected the holotape and made my way to Repcon headquarters, but not without killing a few citizens before I arrived. This one usually takes me longer to do since I get lost pretty easy here, but I breezed through it this time around and took the holotape. Now I have to go back to the boomers area, and since I killed some of them, I expected there to be some explosions chasing me down, but there wasn't, and I was able to grab the last holotape unscathed. Back to the Brotherhood. The Elder now tasks me with finding his 3 scouts and acquiring their reports. Easy. 1, 2, 3. I mean, it was just a bunch of walking anyways. Now the Elder wants me to go to the local vaults and acquire the parts to keep the bunker up and running. And I cannot tell you how happy I am that I just did this part a few weeks ago, because that made it so much easier to remember where everything was. So let's head to Vault 11. This vault is full of rats and mantis, which are incredibly easy, and I cleared this place in minutes. Now let's go to Vault 3, home of the fiends. There were a lot of fiends outside of the vault, and I ate them all. It's the same inside of the vault as well. This one took me a little longer than usual because I couldn't find Daniel to save my life, but I eventually found him and the key and was able to make it into the lower section of the vault to find the parts I needed. Back outside of the vault, I was attacked by another group of fiends, and for some reason they were easily able to kill me. After a few attempts, I did manage to kill them, but was nearly dead. Now it's time to go to Vault 22. Can we just talk about the mantis real quick? Why do they do so much damage? They die so easily, but they do so much damage. I died twice outside of this vault. Granted, I was low HP, but they really do a lot of damage. Anyways, the inside of the vault had some more mantis, and I quickly realized that if I wanted to do this part with any marginal speed, that I'd need to get my repair skill to 50 so I could repair the elevator, and I had the perfect idea to level up. It's time to pay a visit to the king. It made perfect sense since I still needed to eat the king for the Meet of Champions perk, so I went to Freeside straight away, and I'm not gonna lie, this was way too easy. I kinda thought that the main gang in Freeside would put up a little bit more of a fight than they did, but they surely didn't. I killed all of the kings, including the king, leveled up and got more than 50 repair, and picked the Purifier perk. Then I ate the whole gang, including the king. Victory never tasted so good. Now that my repair was higher than 50, I could go back to Vault 22 and repair the elevator, and this made for an easy walk to the locker containing the part I needed, and it was time to go back to the Elder. He thanked me for all the hard work I did, and said it was time for some changes around the bunker. Then I proceeded to ask him if I could join the Brotherhood, and he said I could if I completed a simple task. You know what that means. Black Mountain, here we come. Now, I'm sorry if I never touch on Black Mountain too much in these challenges, but every time I come here I can never stay too long. I just made my way up the tower and flipped this lever, which I'm not even sure you have to do. Then I took the key to Tabitha's room and grinded her up with my chainsaw. Now is a great time to mention that I took the perk that allowed me to eat super mutants and ghouls a while back, and I think it still counts as cannibalism as they were at one point humans. Not to mention this was literally the only time I actually utilized the perk anyways. I hooked up what needed to be hooked up, then it was back to the Elder. Now I'm officially a member of the Brotherhood, and that means I can wear power armor. So I went to the store to buy some T-51 armor that wasn't faction oriented, and fixed it up using the armor that I collected from the fallen Brotherhood squads I was sent to look for a while ago. This was when things took a pretty big turn. So I had this grand and wondrous plan that I would make everyone watching think I was just going to let the Brotherhood live. But when I was done getting the power armor, I was just going to kill them all off, and that was so not going to happen. I tried, and it was just not feasible. They did so much damage to me, and while I did kill a handful of the Brotherhood, in the end I was forced to keep them alive, and that played out well enough in the end. So far, I've eaten Mr. House and the King. I still had to eat Caesar and President Kimball, and right now the easier one to get to would be Caesar, so it's off to the fort. At the fort, I was asked to hand over my weapons and contraband, and was very surprised that human remains don't fit the list of contraband, but what can you do? Caesar wanted me to blow up Mr. House's bunker, but I had other plans. I planned on activating it for Yes Man so we had more Securitrons for later. Easy peasy. Robots don't hold up very well against a chainsaw. Now it's time to make my move. I started by attempting to kill the Praetorian guards that were guarding the exit of the bunker so I could leave with my weapons, but they very much didn't want that to happen. Their weapons did so much damage to me, and that's because they do extra damage to power armor. Dead, death, murdered, mulchified. Many more words can describe the pain that I endured while being destroyed by the Praetorian guards. I eventually got them by using VATS, a lot, and just getting lucky dodges. Now it's time for Caesar himself. There were a few guards outside, but they were so much easier to kill than the Praetorians, and I made my way to Caesar's tent. Bad idea, bad idea. No, scratch that. So many bad ideas that led up to the worst idea you could ever have in your life. That's what this bad idea is. These guards were ferocious. Oh, I died so many freaking times, I could write a script on just that. After way too many deaths to count, I decided that leaving the tent would be the best course of action, and while it was in the long run, it didn't really help me out at the beginning. God save me from myself and my stupid decisions. So eventually, just by sheer dumb luck, I killed Caesar without getting killed myself, and since eating didn't pause any animations, I had to run away so I could get the chance to eat Caesar later, and there was only one place to go really. Back in the bunker, I figured they'd all follow me, but I didn't know the exact extent of how far that would go. Many deaths. Deeper in the bunker, I was able to hide long enough that they all lost track of me and left the bunker, and that was the best feeling ever, let me tell ya. Now all I have to do is leave the bunker and wait for a bit since I can't wait in radiated areas. Holy hell, they never truly left. Better go get my shovel so I can bury myself! Whatever. I just sat in the irradiated lower bunker for a few minutes until they all left. Now I could wait until night and hopefully get to Caesar's body to eat it. There was a guard pretty close to the exit of the bunker, but he was easily dispatched, and I was finally able to take a bite out of Caesar's big brain. Wonder why that is. Now all I have to do is escape the fort, and of course that can't be freaking easy either. Once I was a few feet past Caesar's body, I was detected by the Praetorian guards who didn't decide to go back into the tent. Now I have to run away without getting emulsified by the Praetorians. I make it outside of the main encampment, and I might as well just jump off the cliff and give myself a break because these guys sure as hell aren't. Just keep running, Nick. Eventually you'll make it down there. And I did, for all the good it did me. The guards outside of the front gate had incredible aim with their spears, and I just couldn't. Who would have thought assassinating Caesar in his main camp and eating his tumor-riddled brain would be hard? Luckily for me, there was a little trench over here for me to escape into, and I was able to remain hidden long enough for everyone to stop chasing me. I got the chance to eat this guy and took it, and after many attempts of trying to leave, I got lucky and was able to escape with my life. Never again. When I left the camp, I had to swim underwater to avoid being killed by the Legion members in the area, and when I was able to fast travel, I did so post-haste. It was time to take out the Great Khans, and the closest place was the South Vegas entrance, which was once again infested with fiends. After the fort, this was a cakewalk. Now all I have to do is survive the long walk to Red Rock Canyon, and wouldn't you know it, that couldn't be easy either. How the hell did they know so fast? I just left for Christ's sakes. Well, now that I had to deal with a Legion assassin party, everything would be that much harder considering how powerful they could be. I had to take the scenic route up this hill to avoid the Legion, but there were also fire geckos in my way as well, which was definitely the lesser of two evils. The Legion took its time chasing me up the hill, but in the long run they caught back up with me. Now, I'm still really surprised that this worked, but I was able to lose the assassins in the field surrounded by Bighorner, which was so handy. Now all I have to do is get past these mantis. When I finally reached Red Rock Canyon, I was bloody and bruised, but that wasn't going to stop me from eating every one of the Great Khan's sorry asses. I started by entering Papa Khan's place and killing Carl, which had no negative effect with the Khans at all for some reason. The Khans put up one heck of a fight, but in the end, I overpowered them with my chainsaw and ate the great head of Papa Khan. Back outside, I thought I finished the majority of the Khans that mattered and made sure to loot the turbo from the tents for later. Now we can finally go back to Yes Man and tell him about all of the tribes we met. Or so I thought. While I could tell Yes Man all about the tribes and progress the story, there was something I couldn't do. Eat President Kimball. There was no option to help prevent his assassination, and now I had to think of something so all of my troubles wouldn't be in vain. The only feasible way I saw to do this was to help the NCR enough to be able to partake in protecting the president while he gave his speech. So it's off to Ambassador Crocker. Now, this was all easy for once. He would ask me to do a thing, and then I'd talk to him, and he'd be mad because I already did the thing my own way. Make peace with the kings? Well, I killed him like a week ago, but no, that's still all blamed on the NCR, of course, not the man who was seen shooting them outside of their club. Next, I had to contact the Boomers, and you guessed it, he wasn't happy about that either. He still sent me to Hoover Dam to talk to more, though. She wanted me to take out the Great Khans, and while I thought I did that, apparently I missed a few of them. Clean up time. There we go. No more Khans left. Now I was tasked with eliminating the Brotherhood, and since I couldn't kill them and I didn't want to blow them up, I asked them to side with the NCR in the war, which might backfire on me later, but oh well. Now I would have access to Kimball's speech, and be able to watch him get domed from the crowd. There we go. Now all I have to do is eat him. Wow, that was good. I'll just leave now. Oh wait, I actually found a group of people who try to kill me if I eat someone in front of them. Granted, it was probably because he was the president, so I just took his corpse behind this wall thing and ate him there. Now I had the Meat of Champions perk, which really didn't do much for me, but it felt like the challenge could truly be completed now. Yes Man told me to install the override chip at the El Dorado substation, and by the end of my massacre and feast, I was vilified by the NCR. Heck yeah, almost everyone hates me now. I installed the chip, and now it's time for the Battle of Hoover Dam. Sort of. I went to every easily accessible place that I knew of and killed everyone so I could take some lunch with me for the road, since I figured I'd need to be able to heal a bit if I stood any chance of taking on the Legate in the final fight. I'm not ready for this, but let's go. Oh wow, the NCR does a crap ton of damage to me. I just hid and let the Securitron do the majority of the hard work. There was a sniper in this tower, and since I couldn't shoot him, I'd have to climb up to kill him. So I hid behind the Securitron while he shot at the sniper, and moved forward. Now I had to deal with some Legion members, and this sucked the big one. I couldn't kill them in close combat as I would get shot to death too fast, and my robot wasn't as good as I wanted him to be. What eventually worked was me hiding on the roof for a bit, and the Legion members just kinda walked away to somewhere else. Now I have to hook Yes Man up to the mainframe, and these two didn't make that easy, but I ate them eventually. With Yes Man in the mainframe, I was given a choice to power my Securitron army or blow the dam up, making it useless. I decided to power my army and ate a few NCR and Legion members along the way. With that done, I was getting close to the final stretch. All I had to do was follow my Securitrons across the bridge while they did all of the hard work, and before I knew it, I was at the Legate's camp. Now, I cannot stress enough how bad this was. The Praetorian guards were pretty fine to deal with for the most part, and were easily dispatched with my chainsaw. All that was left was the Legate, and this, I think, was the worst part of the challenge. Nothing. I literally mean nothing could help me kill the Legate. He was so freaking fast and hit like a goddamn cannon, and to top that off, almost every attack knocked me down. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So many deaths happened in this part, and every one of them were practically the same. Take a dose of turbo, and then get attacked by him and his guards. At one point, I wised up and climbed above the Legate to take out his guards first, and to my surprise, it worked and I was left with one dose of turbo. That still didn't help me that much, as I continued to die consistently from the Legate. After many attempts, I got lucky and did enough damage to have him run away, and all I had to do was finish him off. Now I had to take care of the rest of the guards, which also sucked, but for some reason, I only had to kill one of them, and I was able to run to the gate and set off the explosion. Now all I had to do was not get killed by General Oliver and his rangers, which was near impossible with the health I was at. But I lucked out and escaped the fight and locked myself in this cage, and after the dust settled, Yes Man came to my cage and initiated dialogue with me, and I beat Fallout New Vegas as a cannibal. Sweet Jesus, Mother of Mary, this challenge was very difficult. The healing sucked, the Legion sucked, and everything all around just sucked. But I still recommend doing this challenge if you're looking for something incredibly hard to do in New Vegas. As usual, I'm going to plug my Discord and Twitch. The links for both are in the description. And if you're new here, think about subscribing and liking the video, as that helps me bunches. Also, here's a playlist of all the other challenges I've done so far. Give them a watch if you liked today's video. I'm sure you'll like those ones too. And until next time, stay safe out there, and peace out.